Hi guys, welcome back. We are continuing our discussion on financial literacy. So we have discussed debit and credit transactions. We have talked about a checking account and check registrar. Now we're going to move on to credit reports, credit scores, and credit history. Okay, sounds like a mouthful, but they all actually intertwine with each other. So we're going to do some notes and look at some vocabulary. Let me share my screen. All right, credit reports. Okay, credit reports. We have credit history, which is a record of financial performance. We have a credit report, which is a summary of your financial history, including whether payments are made on time, how much debt a person has, and whether or not they have a history of repaying their debt. A lender is someone who lends money. A borrower is someone who borrows money, okay? Credit reports and scores are important because showing a positive credit history allows consumers to borrow money at lower interest rates. Credit reports and scores are important to lenders because lenders might choose not to extend credit to a consumer with negative credit history. Credit scores range from 300 to 850 points. This is very important, okay? The higher your score indicates a positive credit history. Now, the average person usually has credit of 600 to 650. That's the average portion. That's like, you had some mistakes probably early on, but you've made improvements. People that have 700, 800 credit scores, those people, they've been paying their payments on time. They've never missed anything. Those are spectacular credit scores. But the average person has anywhere from 600 to 650 on their credit report, okay? Negative credit actions are usually reflected on your credit report for at least 7 years. So if you're skipping payments or not making payments, or you borrow money and you decide not to pay it back, that's going to stay on your record for 7 years. And people are able to look at that when you're determining if they're going to let you borrow money from them. Okay, so let's look at some examples. Let's look at this first one. Example 1. The table shows some of the actions taken by 3 different borrowers. Explain how these actions affect each person's credit score. So we have a Mr. D. Chang made all car payments on time. A Mr. B. Wilson missed the last 6 car payments. Not good, guys. And a Mr. J. Wren did not make the last 2 payments on a loan. So, starting with Mr. Chang, making all the car payments on time will raise Mr. Chang's credit score. Not making 2 payments in a row will lower Mr. Wren's credit score. Missing the last 6 payments will definitely lower Mr. Wilson's, and they're probably coming to take his car because he hasn't made a car payment in 6 months. That's half a year, guys. That's not good at all, okay? So Mr. Chang is definitely the better one off in these 3 examples. Mr. Wren still has time to change his course of action to make it positive. Mr. Wilson, he's pretty much in the slumps there. Okay, let's look at another example. Identify the 2 borrowers most likely to be offered a loan if the decision was solely based on their credit scores. Now remember, the higher your credit score, the better. So look, we have Blake with 730, Evans with 760, Autry with 820, and Keith with 800. Now, just only looking at their scores, not knowing anything about their credit history, Autry at 820 and Keith at 800 would most likely be offered a loan because they have the 2 highest scores. Now, Blake and Evans, they actually have pretty good scores. Being in the high 700s is actually pretty good. But in comparison, the bank would offer Autry and Keith the better deal because their credit is pretty much almost perfect, okay? Okay, let's look at this. Identify 2 borrowers least likely to be offered a loan if the decision was solely based on their credit scores. So we have Gil with 720, Lamb with 790, Hanks with 700, and Gentry with 800. Now, if we're only looking at the scores, again, these are actually pretty good credit scores. They're in the high 700s, 800s. But if we were going solely on the score, we would look at the two lowest, which would be Gill and Hanks, because they have the lower of the credit scores, okay? How many years does a negative credit action stay on your credit report? 7 years. That's a long time for somebody to be looking at a mistake that you have made. All right, last one. How does paying off a loan early affect Mrs. Johnson's credit score? If you borrowed money and you're able to pay it back sooner than what they expected, let's say they gave you 6 months to pay off a loan and you paid it off in 3 months, that is a good mark on your credit report. It actually will raise your score, showing that you paid it off on time, or ahead of time rather, and you paid it off in its full amount. So it will definitely raise Johnson's credit score. Johnson's credit score. All right, guys, you're going to go ahead and do an activity today based on credit reports, what lenders are looking for on there. They're looking to see if you've made missed payments, on-time payments, if you've been late, or if you just haven't been paying it at all, if you've been paying on time, or if you've been paying early. They're looking for negative things and positive things on those credit reports. All right, go ahead and look at your activity for today. And as always, if you need any help, let me know. See you later, guys.